Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ministry of Education and Youth for our annual press conference, releasing the information and the results for the primary exit profile exams which were done earlier this year. We want to welcome those persons who are joining us online and following us on our social media platforms. But for right now, I'd just like to introduce Mrs. Maureen Dwyer, our Permanent Secretary, and she will be welcoming you officially and then announcing the other members of the team who are here with us before the Minister makes her presentation. So over to you, Mrs. Dwyer.
Thank you, Mr. Steer. Good morning again, everyone. Let me formally introduce you to members of the team here and those online. So, of course, leading the team, we have Mrs. Favour Williams, Honorable Favour Williams, our Minister of Education and Youth, Dr. Kassan Troop, our Acting Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Clover Hamilton Flowers, Acting Deputy Chief Education Officer in the Curriculum and Support Services Division. She's joining us online. Mrs. Terrian Thomas Gale, our Deputy Chief Education Officer of Examinations, Assessment and Administration Services. Mrs. Winnie Berry, Acting Director Principal, National College for Educational Leadership. She's joining us online. Dr. Tamika Benjamin, our National Mathematics Coordinator and Tertiary Support Officer. Dr. Andre Hill, National Literacy Coordinator, Ministry of Education and Youth, members of the Executive Management Team, all our heads of agencies online, directors of our regional education services, members of the public, online members of the media, I welcome you all to this year's sharing of the PEP results. Over to you, Minister.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, P.S. Dwyer. Good morning, everyone. And since you already set the protocol, let me simply acknowledge you, our Permanent Secretary. Let me also acknowledge our Acting Chief Education Officer, Dr. Kassan Troop, senior officers at the Ministry, members of the media, all those who are watching online as well. Good morning. I'm pleased to welcome you to this press conference for the announcement of the results of the 2022 Primary Exit Profile Assessment. As you know, the PEP assessments are intended to be administered over 3 years in grades 4, 5, and 6, with each of those years counting towards the final results. Due to the pandemic, this cohort did not sit the grade 4 PEP or the grade 5 PEP. So everything hangs on the grade 6 PEP. Again, due to the continuing pandemic, this cohort was only able to sit 2 of the 3 grade 6 components. They sat the ability test in March 2022 and the curriculum-based test, or CBT, which is an achievement test, in April 2022. This cohort also did not sit the grade 6 performance task test. And we had to go further as a result of the impact of the pandemic on learning to make adjustments in the content coverage for the achievement or the curriculum-based component of the tests, which comprises mathematics, science, social studies, and language arts. And I'm saying all of that to say that as a result, it will be difficult to compare the results of the primary exit profile over the years as the components varied due to the impact of the pandemic. In terms of the administration of the PEP 6 this year, for the ability test and curriculum-based test, students sat their examinations in 1,054 examination centers, under the supervision of a presiding examiner and invigilators. Regional teams were set up to act as monitors on the days of administration to ensure the examinations were administered according to the prescribed guidelines. The presiding examiners and invigilators were trained in February 2022 by the Student Assessment Unit and regional teams to preside over the exams. For the exam period, 36,078 students, comprising 18,495 boys and 17,583 girls, were registered to sit the exams. Unfortunately, approximately 2%, or 786, of our boys and girls did not sit the exam as a result of being absent on the days the exams were administered. As you know, we're at a place in Jamaica in which every student graduating from primary school has a place in a high school. The results of the PEP exam is a significant determinant as to which high school that student will attend. Of the 35,292 students who sat the exam, only 20 students were not placed in a public school at the secondary level, and this was based on their requests. If we look in terms of student choices, students and parents are allowed to choose 7 schools and rank them from number 1 to number 7. 87% of the students, or some 30,778 students, were placed in one of their 7 choices of schools. Of those who did not get into a school of their choice, which would be 13%, or a total of 4,494, they were placed in high schools in close proximity to the primary school they attended, or in close proximity to the home address that the students would have submitted on the exam. It must be noted that a higher percentage, or 100% of our schools, are now school of choice, meaning in prior years there were high schools that were not chosen by any student, but this year that's not the case. As to be expected, though, the demand for certain schools the demand for certain schools continues to be very high, and I'm sure Jamaicans know which schools those are. Turning now to student achievement, the primary exit profile represents a new approach in the reporting of the scores, while ensuring that the scores are aligned to the competence-based transition policy and the alternate pathways for secondary education. One of the major goals of the National Standards Curriculum is to enable students to become critical, reflective thinkers, creative problem solvers, effective communicators, and natural collaborators. The primary exit profile aims to assess these skills and competencies as outlined by the National Standards Curriculum. So we will say some more in terms of the reports that parents and schools will get. Parents will, and it's up on the board there, parents will get a report that looks like this. I don't know if the camera will be capturing it. Right? At the top of the report, obviously we'll have the name of the student and some other information. The important information there is the placement score. And that's the score that's used to place the students in a high school. And that score is a composite of the curriculum-based tests and the ability test. The report further breaks down in terms of the curriculum-based test. It shows the 4 subjects: mathematics, language arts, science, social studies, and it gives the scores for each of those. It is important that parents understand this report, because it also indicates what category of learning or what level of learning your child is at the moment. There are 4 levels. There's developing, there is, beginning, developing, proficient, and highly proficient. What do these mean? So a student that's ranked at the beginning stage means that the student at this level demonstrate limited or no evidence of the required competence necessary at grade 6 as specified in the National Standards Curriculum. These students will need intensive, ongoing academic support at grade 7. And this is information that this test is given to us to allow us to better target our students with support. Students that are ranked in the developing level means they demonstrate partial evidence of the required competence necessary at grade 6 level as specified in the National Standards Curriculum. These students will need some targeted academic support at grade 7 as well. And then at the proficient level, students at this level demonstrate adequate evidence of the required competence necessary at grade 6 as specified in the National Standards Curriculum. These students may need minimal academic support and or extended learning activities at grade 7. And in the highly proficient category or level, students at this level demonstrate an advanced level of competence necessary at grade 6 as specified in the National Standards Curriculum. They may need extended learning activities at grade 7, so they are performing above their level. Yes. So those are the students in that category. We're spelling this out because we want parents to understand that the exam that their child sat, it was not just to place them into high school and that's it. It also gives us good information to allow us to make the necessary intervention to help our teachers in the classroom to know who is going to require more hand-holding and to be able to provide that for the student. If we didn't have this information, it might not necessarily be possible to give the student the additional help that they may need. All right. In terms of, just to give you some numbers, if we take a look at the tests, so starting with mathematics and still using those different categories, the beginning, developing, proficient, and highly proficient. In mathematics, most of the students fell into the developing and proficient category. So in the developing category, 43.5% of the students. In the proficient category, 45.9%. And at the higher end, 4.9% of the students. At the lower end, the beginning end, 5.7% of the students. Science has a different profile. 45% of the students are in the developing category. 33.8% in the proficient category, while in highly proficient, it's 20%, and in the beginning category, 1.2%. In social studies, 41.9% in the developing category, 37.2% in the proficient category, 16.1% highly proficient, and 4.8% beginning. In language arts, 22% in the developing category, 62.7% at proficient, and 14.4% highly proficient, with less than 1%, 0.9 at the beginning level. So again, this is all very good information for us to continue to help our students. If we look at just a little bit further analysis at these subject areas, breaking them down by male versus female, in the area of mathematics, 45% of male students who sat the tests have demonstrated proficiency or high proficiency in the concepts, procedures, and application of skills required by the National Standards Curriculum in mathematics, while 56% of female students achieved proficiency or high proficiency. In science, 46.6% of male students who sat the test have demonstrated proficiency or high proficiency. In social studies, 47% of male students who sat the test have demonstrated proficiency or high proficiency. And in language arts, 68.5% of male students who sat the tests have demonstrated proficiency or high proficiency in reading, writing, and research skills required by the National Standards Curriculum. We do have numbers for our girls as well, and I'd have to go back over, but I think if you just do the subtraction, it will give you a sense of where the girls are as well. We will be publishing these numbers. There are many more numbers that we have, that it's better for you to see the tables than for me to call out the numbers. So we will be publishing the summary numbers to let Jamaicans have a good sense of how they break down in terms of the different subject areas and across gender as well. So in conclusion, it must be noted that this form of assessment has several benefits, such as more accurate claims can be made about the students. Students' achievement of the curriculum and their progress will be monitored more regularly. More opportunities will be provided for teachers to identify students' strengths and weaknesses, and therefore plan lessons to meet the specific needs of students, and students can monitor their own learning. The methods used to report students' performance in the primary exit profile provide a more holistic overview of what each child knows and can do as they transition from the primary level of education to the secondary level. The data gathered from the primary exit profile will serve several purposes. Obviously, the first one is the placement at the secondary level, and a measure of the achievement of the National Standards Curriculum, mathematics, language, arts, and science, as well as the students' ability. The results, the individual results, will be available online at the parent portal starting today at 4 p.m. And the regional offices are all prepared to support schools and parents in accessing and printing results where the service is needed. Parents and/or guardians can call the Educate Jamaica helplines at 888-338-2283 and at 888-724-8463. And I'll just repeat, 888-338-2283 and 888-724-8463 for any queries or concerns. But I know parents are already familiar with this process because last year we used this same process in terms of creating the portal with user IDs and passwords for parents so they could access the reports. We want to express our sincere thanks to the teachers, education officers, invigilators, and administrators at all levels who worked with our students amidst tremendous challenges to help them get to this point. And so let me close by saying congratulations to all our students. We will continue to work with you to help you continue working at your very best. I know parents as well. Let me congratulate you for all the efforts. These past 2 years have not been the greatest for us, for the education sector, given the pandemic. But I know that you did all that you could to help your children through. And so we hope that when you see the results, again, you will recall what we say about the different levels that are on there as it relates to the curriculum-based test, and that to know that we will still continue to call on you to take this journey alongside your child or children. Education, as you know, is the path to success, and we will continue to ensure that it's available to all our children all across Jamaica. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Williams. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the very comprehensive report from Minister on the performance of the students during the course of this year. And at this time, we're going to invite members of the media to present your questions, to raise your questions. And as usual, we invite you to use the raise hand feature. And when you're identified, identify the media house you represent, and of course, you give us your name. So I'm looking now online to see who we may have ready to ask any questions. Do we have any? I'm not hearing clearly.
Brittany Hutchinson.
Oh, okay, yes, we have Brittany Hutchinson from the Jamaica Observer, and she has indicated that she has a question. So go ahead, Brittany, with your question.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brittany Hutchinson from the Jamaica Observer. 2 questions. I'm not sure if I missed it, but the average performance of students for this year, and also, Minister Williams, what is the major difference you've noticed in relation to this year's performance of the students when compared to last year?
Again, it is difficult to compare because the exam last year had different components to it relative to this year. And so we're really cautious about drawing any comparison between the years.
You said you had a second question, Brittany?
Oh, I was saying I'm not sure if I missed it. The average performance for this year.
Mrs. Terry Ann Thomas Gill will give us a response to that question.
Morning, everyone. We're looking at the performance of our students as it relates to the curriculum-based test. For mathematics, we have 5.7% of the population at the beginning. We had 43.5% at developing, 45.9% at proficient, and 4.9% at highly proficient. For science, we have 1.2% at beginning, we have 45% at developing, 33.8% at proficient, and 20% at highly proficient. For social studies, we have 4.8% at beginning, 41.9% at developing, 37.2% at proficient, and 16.1% at highly proficient. Language arts, we have 9%, that's less than 1%. 0.9, sorry, thank you, Minister. 0.9% at beginning, 22% at developing, 62.7% at proficient, and 14.4% at highly proficient.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Thomas Gale. And is there any other question? Nobody else online at the moment? Okay, so we have a very comprehensive report, and we will, of course, share the report with you via email, from which you can extract the information for your publication. So we want to thank you for joining us this morning for our press conference. And of course, we thank Minister Williams, Mrs. Maureen Dwyer, our Acting Permanent Secretary, Dr. Casson True, for Acting Chief Education Officer, and Mrs. Thomas Gale, Terry Ann Thomas Gale from the Students Assessment Unit, for bringing us the report today. We want to wish for you a very pleasant day, and we trust that you will continue to share the information with the public about our students' performance. Thank you very much. Have a good day.